By the way,
telling me this dude's the second best wide receiver coming back to the Big 12 next year?
couldn't put up a touchdown against Harvard.
Come on.
Lost to Dartmouth.
What are we
24
talking
to
about
21.
here?
And that's, of course, as a team. But like
Pro
still,
Football Focus, man.
Okay.
Be better.
Is Jordyn Tyson the 5th best wide receiver in the Big 12 next season? It's PHNX Sun Devils Trending Mini Pod Edition. It's Erik and Totri. And we're here to tell you that that's not true, despite what Pro Football Focus wants to tell you are the highest graded wide receivers returning or joining the Big 12 next season. Jordyn Tyson coming in at 5th.
Fifth, there you go.
Damn, 5th. It's that bad, huh?
Yeah,
I can't even fathom it. Jordan Dwyer, Bryson Canty, Eric McAllister, and Cam Vaughn, all above Jordyn Tyson. One thing that 3 out of those 4 names have in common, Anthony Totri, is that they didn't play in the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, I think that's something that immediately you have to look at. I think the PFF grading system is kind of flawed in that sense, right? You got to look at the competition that some of these guys were going against and not to completely dismiss what they accomplished at their previous universities. But again, like the competition level is so vastly different. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into where some of these guys played prior, but Jordyn Tyson did it in this conference at a very, very high level, put up some of the most ridiculous receiving stats in the conference last year while still missing some big time games, right? Imagine what he would have done in the Big 12 championship game against an Iowa State defense that was really exposed against the Sun Devils. And then same thing in the college football playoff, right? His numbers certainly would have been inflated to his benefit if he would have played in those games. I think it's pretty clear to me and to a lot of individuals that Jordyn Tyson is the best wide receiver in the Big 12 going into this season. I don't care about the other names. I don't care who their quarterbacks are. I don't care about any of it, to be honest with you. I think it is as clear as, hey, let me go watch each and every one of these guys and see what they do. You can't tell me that you turn on the tape of any of those 4 individuals listed above Jordyn Tyson and that they are an overall better wide receiver than Tyson. It's not there.
And not to say that they're bad. I mean, watching some of these guys' tapes, like they're good. Like they make good plays. They've got, good foundational building blocks to be a good wide receiver on a power 4 level. I think there's a couple of different things that remind you of who the real threat is here. And that's A, whose picture did they use for the graphic? It was Jordyn Tyson's, and B, like you mentioned, it's where did these other guys play football before joining the Big 12? Let's start at the top. PFF not even saying that Jordyn Tyson is the best Jordan wide receiver in the Big 12. Jordyn Dwyer, TCU, recently at Idaho playing for the Vandals, 78 receptions, 1,192 yards, 12 touchdowns, average of 15.3 yards per reception in 2024. Great stats. Not a great conference, not a great team. Now, we can't discount taking players from lower level schools.
No, absolutely not.
It's something that Arizona State built a lot of their success on.
Yeah.
I think even specifically Idaho, ex-Guillory from there. But to come in at an 88.5 PFF highest graded wide receiver in the Big 12 next season, it makes you start to remember how PFF breaks this type of stuff down.
The grading system is just, again, so clearly flawed. I mean, even in this sense, right? Like this is a guy that did it at a smaller school. That's all well and fine. And I know you bring up the point that like Arizona State has had success taking some of these guys from smaller level schools and bringing them up at the Division I level. But nobody was saying Cam Scadaboo was the second coming when he was at his first season at Arizona State after playing at Sac State, right? That's the thing here. And he had a good season at Sac State prior to that, doing a bunch of different things. But at the end of the day, like there does need to be some level of, I think, accountability in terms of like, hey, the grading system does this, and it doesn't necessarily take into account the opposition or anything else that's going into it. Because if you look at this list, Jordyn Tyson very clearly to me played the best competition at the highest level last season. I think, again, he should be the highest graded wide receiver in this conference. And he is the best wide receiver coming back to the Big 12.
Not according to PFF. Bryson Canty, an 84.6 PFF grade. Again, Jordyn Dwyer, who's number 1 overall, 88.5. So pretty significant drop off to number 2. Bryson Canty. I said it before we went live. Do you remember where I said he played football before he went to Kansas?
Columbia
University.
Yeah.
He played football at Columbia University for a couple of years before transferring to Kansas. Again, I don't want to just sit here and trash on players who played for like lower level programs, but at Columbia,
playing
again,
football
as a
in an
senior,
Ivy League, dude.
As a senior, or at least I think a true junior at Columbia, 43 receptions, 760 yards, 9 touchdowns, is rated at an 84.6 by PFF. By the way, Jordyn Tyson an 80.4. So pretty significant jump up to Bryson Canty. Then you get to Erik McAllister. Now, Erik McAllister did play at TCU last season, did have a good season. I think out of all the 3 that are ahead of Jordyn Tyson, I'm not saying he deserves to be ahead of Jordyn Tyson, but it's the only one that you can look at and feel like there's a relative argument for. He is an 82.8. He played at TCU last season, and then Cam Vaughn, who I believe played at Ohio last season, 81.2. I like Cam Vaughn. I like Erik McAllister. They're not as good as Jordyn Tyson.
No, it's clear again, right? Like, and even if you don't want to go based off of like the tape, go if you're the type of individual that is all about what the talking heads, the national media
box
say,
score watchers,
right? Yeah, like I mean, go look at projected first round picks, right? You don't see any of those names outside of Jordyn Tyson that are projected first round picks. I think you could make an argument that there's not a guy on that list not named Jordyn Tyson that'll be selected in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, right? So, and again, that's not necessarily a knock to what these guys did last year, but just the pedigree that is Jordyn Tyson. This is a guy that if he didn't miss the 2023 season, still recovering from an injury, if he didn't get hurt at the tail end of his 2022 season at Colorado, we're very clearly talking about a wide receiver that could have come out last season and gone to the NFL draft and had a phenomenal career. It's again, like this is more a knock on PFF than it is these wide receivers. I think they're all really talented guys. I think they're all in very unique situations, right? You got 2 guys there in McAllister and Dwyer that are going to be at TCU next season. Josh Hoover is a really talented quarterback. I think Canty's in an interesting spot with Jalen Daniels coming back to Kansas. And then Cam Vaughn as well at West Virginia. Like that's going to be a really interesting offense to watch out for, or maybe not to watch out for, but just to watch overall. And then Chase Roberts below Jordyn Tyson, obviously somebody that was at BYU last year. I think he has a better argument for some of those guys even above him. Outside
I think anybody
that
played Big 12 football, right, and anybody who's successful in Big 12 football. And I've said this a couple times already, I don't say that to discredit what Jordan Dwyer, Bryson Canty, or Cam Vaughn did at these lower level schools. But if Arizona State was, their wide receiver 1 was transferring in from Idaho last season, we'd be saying, yeah, this guy on film is great. I mean, this guy in the FCS semifinals was playing Lehigh in front of 200 people. Yeah. Right? It's a different level of competition, and it's different from an individual standpoint to where it's like, okay, as a team, sure, maybe you'll have a better quarterback. Maybe you'll have a better offensive line. Maybe you'll be surrounded by better weapons. And in theory, you could talk yourself into somebody who was playing on Columbia, who probably his entire offensive line was wearing glasses versus, going and playing
taking a shot at glasses here.
I mean, I wear contacts, so it's it's the difference. But then now going to play for Kansas, you can make this individual argument that maybe they're unlocked by being surrounded by better talent. But then again, you're talking about the players around these pieces instead of themselves.
You're also talking about the defenses, right? Not just the team, like the players on their side of things, but also the guys that they're matched up against. If I'm playing wide receiver at Columbia, I'm going up against other likely Ivy League defenses.
Literally.
Right?
So I'm on Jordan Dwyer's ESPN page. The first 2 highlights is Yale Bulldogs versus Columbia Lions, full highlights.
Stop it.
And then Bryson Canty scores 44-yard receiving touchdown versus Yale.
Yeah, we're going against Ivy League schools, man.
I'm going to click see all. That's it. That's literally all of the videos that they have on Bryson Canty.
I'm sorry. The Ivy League is great at taking tests. They're great at inventing things, but they're not great in coverage, man, evidently.
Not even number 1 in innovation.
No.
Okay, literally, this was the schedule that Bryson Canty played. And again, I think he'll be fine. Cornell, Brown, Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Penn, Princeton, Georgetown, and then
bunch of Ivy Leagues, man.
Lafayette Leopards, by the way.
Bunch of Ivy Leagues.
4th in the Patriot
They're not playing
League.
great defense. They're not. That's just, come on. They're not playing good defense.
They scored 6 points against the Harvard Crimson.
Stop it. Stop.
By the way,
you're telling me this dude's the second best wide receiver coming back to the Big 12 next year?
Couldn't put up a touchdown against Harvard.
Come on.
Lost to Dartmouth, 24-21.
What are we talking about here?
And that's, of course, as a team, but
Pro Football Focus, man.
Okay.
Be better.
Be better. Any final thoughts? Because I feel like we could just sit here and just rail. I mean, it's better to play at Troy than it is to play at Columbia. And if you know me, that's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot for you. You hate Troy.
Is it even close with anybody else in the Big 12? Like, who would you put second below Jordyn Tyson, and how small or big is the gap?
Man, I mean, on this list,
any wide receiver in the Big 12, whatever you think.
I think there are a couple dudes, obviously, at Texas Tech that I think are going to be interesting. Obviously, they spend a lot of money in the transfer portal on recruits. I think any of those guys have a better argument than the guys you have on the list. I think Chase Roberts is another interesting one. He was a guy at BYU last year that made a name for himself. And, in theory, you should have your returning starting quarterback in Retzlaff. I think there's still a lot to be decided off the field with what's going on with Chick Retzlaff. But if he is returning, then I think Chase Roberts is probably going to have a really solid season. And I think, I'm not necessarily as high on him, but I think even out of the guys that have come from lower level schools, Chase Ole at Iowa State, right, going into that offense with Rocco Becht, I think has a better opportunity than most of the guys on that list that have come from smaller level schools. But even with all of that said, I think there is a clear gap between Jordyn Tyson and the rest of the wide receivers in this conference.
Well, what do you think? Let us know down in the comments below. Is it insane that Jordyn Tyson is the 5th rated returning wide receiver to the Big 12 by PFF? Where would you put him? Where did they go wrong? PHNX Sun Devils live 5 days a week, bringing you all sorts of fun stuff like mystery guest interviews, live conversations about the latest going on in all ASU athletics, and so much more. Nobody's covering your Sun Devils like PHNX Sun Devils. You can subscribe to this channel and find us live every single day, plus supplemental content like this. Hit that like button and rate us 5 stars. If you're listening on audio, we'll be talking to you again very soon.
We all silly like the mayor.